Hello children, welcome back to Inside Engine Academy. I hope you have seen the last two videos which are related to the motion lesson. If you go through the part by part, you will understand the basics related to this chapter easily. Okay, so this help you whenever you unfortunately if you miss the school. Okay, if you are unable to attend the school. If there is no chance of going school, these videos are very helpful to understand the things. Okay. See, we have discussed average speed yesterday in the last video. Okay, so we have discussed average speed formula. Average speed is equal to total distance by time taken. Total distance by time taken. So this is the formula for average speed. The journey divided to two parts, S1 plus S2 by T1 plus T2. Such kind of formulas we have used and we solved many problems. Okay, so 2 to 3 problems we have solved in the last class. Now in this class, in this session, we are going to find the average speed, but this condition is different. So what is that condition? So finding the average speed when object covers half of the distance with v1 speed and another half distance with v2 speed. That means let the distance traveled by the object is s naught. What is the distance traveled by the object? S. Suppose if you take this s 100 kilometers. Okay, if you take this distance, how many kilometers? 100 kilometers. So the total journey distance is 100 kilometers. Half of the distance means how much do we get? 50. 100 divided by 2, 50 kilometers. Okay, half of the distance, that means first 50 kilometers with one speed, that may be 60 km per hour or 90 km per hour or 30 something, some speed, and the next 50 kilometers, next to half of the distance with another speed. Okay, so in this condition, how to calculate the average speed? We are going to derive the formula. So do you understand the condition? If the object traveled, for example, let's say object traveled s distance. What is the total distance traveled by the object? S. Okay? In that half of the distance means s by 2, and another half of the distance s by 2. Half of the distance is s by 2, another half of the distance is s by 2. Total distance traveled by the object is s. Half distance means s by 2, half distance means s by 2. This half distance covers, okay, with this speed, and this half distance covers with this speed. Okay, object covering half of the distance with one speed, half of the distance with other speed. For example, the total distance is 50 kilometers. Then what is the half of the distance? 25 kilometers, 25 kilometers. For example, total distance is 500 kilometers. What is the half of the distance? 250 kilometer, 250 kilometer. So this first half distance with v1 speed, next half distance with v2 speed. This kind of condition. In this kind of condition, how to find the average speed, that we are going to discuss. I hope you understand the condition. Okay. This is the total distance traveled by the object, let's say that is s. Object covers s distance, then what is half of the distance? S by 2. What is another half distance? S by 2. Okay, and this half of the distance travel with what speed? v1 speed, and this half of the distance travel with what speed? v2 speed. First half of the distance travel with v1 speed, next to half of the distance travel with v2 speed. I hope you understand the condition, because why I am repeating these many times? First you have to understand the condition. In this condition, this formula we are using. Okay, now we are going to derivation part. So what is the general formula of the average speed? Average speed is equal to total distance by total time. So this is the formula for average speed, total distance by time taken or total time. Here, what is the distance value? First half of the distance here, journey divided to two parts. Okay, so then generally v average is equal to, what do we write? s1 plus s2 by time taken t1 plus t. Okay, here what is s1 first distance? What is the first distance? Half of the distance. What is s2 second distance? What is the second distance? Second distance also half of the distance of the s. Okay, now T1 value, T2 value is not given in this. Then how to find the T1 value and the T2 value? Simple idea. So generally, what is the basic formula of the speed? Speed is equal to distance by time. Speed is equal to distance by time. From this formula, if you write the formula in terms of time, time is equal to what? Distance by speed. Whenever you transpose this time from RHS to LHS, time multiplies speed. If you bring the speed again from LHS to RHS, it divides. So time is equal distance by speed. Okay, time is denoted by T, distance is denoted by D, and speed is denoted by V. Okay, so let's take here, this is D1 plus D2, distance. Okay, we shall take it distance D1. Okay, right. If you consider the distance D, then this will be D by 2 and D by 2. So generally displacement is denoted by S most of the cases. Distance is denoted by D. Okay, previously I have written S. That is why I removed and I have written the D. Now T1 is equal to what, Nana, from this? If the time is equal to distance by velocity, okay, distance by speed, then T1 is equal to what, Nana? D1 by V1. T2 is equal to what? D2 by V2. The D1 value here, D1 value is equal to D by 2, comma D2 value is also equal to D by 2. So what is the D1 value? D by 2, D2 value also D by 2. Okay, now in the place of this D1, what we have to write? D by 2 by V1. Okay, V value is equal to V1. So D by 2 by V1 becomes D by 2V1. If this is the time value, T1 is equal to D by 2V1. In the same way, D2 by V2. What is the D2 value? D2 value is D by 2. What is this? V2 is as it is V2. Then this will become D by 2V2. Okay, most of the students will confuse here. How this will become? Simple idea. D by 2, this is division, divided by V1. Addition of fractions is possible, subtraction of fractions is possible, multiplication of fractions is possible, but division, no. So whenever there is a fraction and whole number, fraction and fraction, if there is a division between that two fractions or fraction and whole number, instead of division, we do multiplication. When we do multiplication, instead of V1, we have to write the reciprocal of the V1, then D into 1 become D, 2 into 1 V1 become 2V1. This way we have to get this one. This is also in the same way we get D by 2V2. So what is the T1 value? D by 2V1. What is the T2 value? D by 2V2. Okay, right. So this is a rough work. If you want to, you can take it. Now, what is the T1 value? T1 value is equal to D by 2V1. What is the T2 value? T2 value is equal to D by 2V2. Now we have D1 value, D2 value, T1 value, T2 value. We have to substitute all the values in this equation. Okay, this is equation 1. Substitute the values in equation 1. This is the equation 1. We have D1 value, D2 value, T1 value, T2 value. We have to substitute all these values in this equation. If you substitute all these values, average speed is equal to D1 value how much, Nana? D by 2, plus D2 value how much, Nana? Also D by 2, by T1 value how much, Nana? D by 2V1. T2 value how much, Nana? Here plus, so here plus. T2 value how much, Nana? D by 2V2. Okay, now next step. D by 2 plus D by 2. 2D by 2, 2 to cancel. Then we get a D. D by 2 plus D by 2 total we get a D only. Na? This D only divided to D by 2, D by 2. If we add again D by 2, D by 2, we get a D only. Na? Common. It's a common sense. Okay, how do we get this way? Okay. So very basic things I am explaining, because some students even they don't know these kind of basics also. That is why I am explaining each and every part. Clear? Okay. So D by 2 plus D by 2 is equal to what, Nana? D. We are going to find the take the LCM of these two. But before going to take the LCM, in this fraction, first fraction D and 2, we have in the second fraction also we have D and 2. So can we take common? Yes. Whenever we find the same terms, okay, we can take the common. Now if I take D and 2 as common, then what is left over here? 1 by V1. Nothing is there in the sense D into 1. D we have taken common. The remaining is 1 here. 1 by V1 plus 1 by V2. Okay. Now, okay, we average D by 2. Okay, D by 2. So previously we have done one rough work. In the same way, if you do D by 2, that means what? D divided by D by 2. This is the D is D. This is divided by, and this value is D by 2. So D divided by D by 2 means instead of division, what do we do? Multiplication, as we have discussed. Then this will become 2 by D. Okay. So D divided by D by 2 is equal to D into 2 by D. So we get 2D by D. Okay. So here this 2 comes here, right? In the next step, what do we get here in the next step? 2d by d of 1 by v1 plus 1 by v2. d get cancel. V average speed is equal to 2 by 1 by v1 plus 1 by v2. Up to here we got. Okay, then again we have to continue this. Okay, this part is the work which is related to this one. Okay, now I am continuing this. This one is here. Yes, V average is equal to 2 by 1 by v1 plus 1 by v2. I am writing the same step here. 1 by v1 plus 1 by v2. Now average speed is equal to 2 by 1 by v1, 1 by v2. v1, v2 LCM we have to take. Okay, what is the LCM of v1, v2? v1, v2 is the LCM. How can we take the LCM of letters? LCM of numbers is possible, but how can we find the LCM of letters? See, v1, v2. If you take v1 and v2, okay, v1 into 1, v2 is nothing. And if you take v2, v2 into 1, okay, so finally v1 into v2 into 1 into 1, we get v1, v2. This is the LCM part. Okay. Now 1 into, here what is the LCM? v1. What is the denominator? v1. What is the LCM? v1, v2. With v1, if you multiply with v2, v1 and v2, you will get v1, v2. Next, again numerator 1 into, here we have v2. If you multiply with v1, v2 into v1, v1, v2. This way we have to do the LCM. V average is equal to 2 divided by 1 into v2, v2 plus 1 into v1, v1 by v1, v2. Okay. This division, this kind of division already we have done here. Okay. Something is divided by fraction. Instead of division, what do? We do multiplication. Then fraction will become reciprocal. Numerator becomes denominator, denominator becomes numerator. That is called multiplicative inverse. The same way, here also 2 is divided by, rough work this is, 2 is divided by v2 plus v1 by v1, v2. Instead of division, if you multiply, this reciprocal we write. What do we write? v1, v2 by v1 plus v2. v2 plus v1, v1 plus v2, both are same. A plus b is equal to b plus a. So finally we write the formula as V average is equal to 2 v1, v2 by v1 plus v2. This is the formula. This is the derivation. This formula we use to calculate the average speed. Which condition? When object travels or covers half of the distance with one speed v1 and another half of the speed v2. Another half of the distance with another speed v2. Okay. When v1 and v2 are different, we use this formula. Even same also, this formula can be used. Understand? So this is the derivation, okay, of the finding average speed. We are using this formula only in this condition. When half of the distance covers with one speed, half of the distance with other speed, we have to use this formula 2 v1, v2 by v1 plus v2 to find the average speed. Okay. Yes, this is the derivation part. Please note down this derivation part. After that, we will do some numericals based on this formula so that you will understand the concepts in a better way. Okay. Please note down this. Just now we have derived one formula. When object covers half of the distance with speed v1, half of the distance with another speed v2, to calculate the average speed, we use this formula. Formula derivation we have discussed just now. So now we will solve some problems related to this formula, right? So let us do one problem. A train covers half of the distance at a speed of 90 kilometers per hour and another half of the distance 60 kilometers per hour. Okay, find its average speed. So this is the formula. Okay, see, condition you have to understand. Half of the distance goes with what is the speed? 90 kilometers per hour. So this is v1. Next, another half of the distance goes with what speed? v2. Okay, here this is the speed to cover first half of the distance. This is the speed to cover the second half of the distance. Okay, in this way you will understand. So first half of the distance s by 2 goes with what speed? 90 kilometers per hour. Next half of the distance, okay, covers with what speed? 60 kilometers per hour. So the total distance traveled is d. This is v2 value. Total distance traveled is v. Say if the total distance traveled is d, half of the distance is d by 2, that is goes with 90 km per hour, and another half of the distance is 60 km per hour. Right? Now we have to calculate the average speed. Directly we have to use this formula because condition is satisfied. When do we use this formula? This formula we use when half distance goes with one speed, half distance goes with other speed. Here, is that condition is satisfied? Yes, this train covering half distance with one speed, half distance with other speed. So direct to go with this formula. That is why learn this formula. This formula used in this condition. So direct formula, V average speed is equal to that formula, 2V1 V2 by V1 plus V2. So average speed is equal to 2 into, what is the V1 value? 90. Okay, write down the V1 value. V1 value is 90 km per hour. V2 value is 60 km per hour. Okay, here we have V1 and V2 values. Okay, now what is the V1 value? 90 km per hour. 2 into 90 into, what is the V2 value? 60 km per hour by V1 plus V2. V1 is 90 plus V2 is 60. Okay, so V average speed is equal to 2 nines are 18. Okay, 18 6 are 18 5 is 90. 18 6 are 108. So 108. 2 zeros are there. So 20. This is a simple calculation. Okay, or 6 nines are 54. 54 2s are 108. The 2 zeros. Simple. 90 plus 60. Okay, 90 plus 60. 150. Right, now 0 0 cancel. This 1080. 1080 divided by 15. So go with the division. 1080 is divided by 15. Okay, 15 5 75. 15 6 are 90. Okay, 90 105. 15 7s 105. So how much left over? 30 is left over. 8 minus 5 3, take 0. So do we get 30 in 15 table? Easily. 15 2s are 30. So 72. So the average speed of the train is 72 km per hour. Okay, so you see, if you use this formula, within 2 steps problem finished. Okay, if you don't know this formula, then you have to go with that previous one. What is that? V average speed is equal to S1 plus S2 by T1 plus T2. Here time is not given, distance is not given properly. Then you have to calculate that. It takes a lot of time. It's a lengthy process. But that is why you have to know the shortcuts, how to solve the problem in an easy way. Okay, so I hope how to solve the problem in an easy way. I hope you understand, right? So please note down this problem. We will solve another problem which is related to the average speed. Okay, let's say a car covers first 30 kilometers at a speed of 40 km per hour. This is the speed of the car during the first 30 kilometers. Okay, the speed of the car is 60 kilometers per hour in next 30 minutes. So in next 30 minutes, okay, 30 kilometers, sorry, next 30 kilometers, it is going with what speed? 60 kilometer per hour. Okay, I explain this problem. Let's say car is moving. What is the total distance traveled by the car? Here 30 kilometers, here 30 kilometers. Total distance traveled by the car is equal to how much? 60 kilometers. 30 plus 30, 60. In this 60 kilometer, half of the distance how much? 30 kilometers. Another half of the distance how much? 30 kilometers. To cover this first 30 kilometers, at what speed car traveled? 40. This is V1. Okay. To cover the next 30 kilometers, car travel with what speed? V2. 60 km per hour. Okay, so here what is the V1 value? 40 km per hour. And what is the V2 value? 60 km per hour. Right, so now we have to find the average speed of car. Find the average speed of car. That is the question. Okay, now condition is satisfied. This condition is satisfied because half of the distance with V1, half of the distance with V2, then we have to use this formula directly. Is that condition satisfied? Yes. First 30 kilometers it is going with 40 km per hour. Next 30 kilometers it is traveling with the same 60 km per hour. So here distance is same. First whatever the distance, next also same distance. So half distance with one speed, half distance with other speed. So condition is satisfied. So can we use this formula? Yes, we can use that formula easily. Then V average is equal to 2V1 V2 by V1 plus V2. This formula V1 plus V2, this formula we use to calculate average speed. That is our task now. So direct V1 value we have, V2 value we have, substitute the value and do it. Okay. Will you try? So I will give you 2 minutes time. Okay, meanwhile you can solve this problem. I hope you solved this problem. Okay, so let me explain this. 2 is 2. What is the v1 value? 40. 2 into 40 into what is the v2 value? 60 by v1 plus v2. 40 plus 60. v1 value is 40, v2 value is 60. Now average speed is equal to 2 4s are 8, 8 6 are 48. Here 2 zeros are there, 4800. Don't go with like this 40 60, it takes more time. Direct digits you multiply, then whatever the number of zeros are there you keep there, that's all, you'll get the answer. Now 40 plus 60 100. These two zeros cancel. 48 by 1 48. Then the average speed is equal to 48 kilometer per hour. Okay, so this is the easy way to calculate the average speed when object travels half distance with one speed, half distance with others. Please note down, we will try another problem also. Just now we have derived the formula for this. When object covers half time with one speed, half time with other speed, to find the average speed, what is the formula we have? Just now we derived, that is v1 plus v2 by 2. This is the formula we have to calculate average speed during this condition. So let us do one problem. Okay, a train covers half of the time. A train travels half of the time at a speed of 90 kilometer per hour, and another half of the time at a speed of 120 kilometers per hour. Let us take this problem. Okay, so condition: half of the time with this speed, another half of the time with this speed. So this value is v1, this value is v2. Condition is satisfied. Okay, the total time taken by train to cover the distance is t. In that half of the time goes with v1 speed. What is that value? 90 kilometer per hour. And remaining half of the time goes with other speed. What is that? v2, 120 kilometer per hour. These are the v1 and v2 value. Condition is satisfied. When this condition is satisfied, half time with one speed, half time with other speed, this formula we use to calculate the average speed. So what is the average speed formula now? Average speed formula in this condition, v1 plus v2 by 2. So v average speed is equal to, what is the v1 value? 90 kilometer per hour. What is the v2 value? 120. In the place of v1, okay, substitute 90. In the place of v2, substitute 120 by 2. 90 plus 120, okay, 210 by 2. V average is equal to 210 by 2. So the average speed of the train is 105 kilometer per hour. Okay, so this is so this formula we use when object covers half time with one speed, half time with other speed. I hope you understand the condition. Okay, we will do other numericals also based on this formula. Okay, please note.